Hey, what's going on, guys? J-Mac here. So, my last video, I kind of teased a couple pet builds on the PTR for patch 2.2, and so I figured tonight I'd go ahead and make a couple videos on those builds. So, this first one is really a pretty standard Tiklandian sacrifice setup. Not a ton has changed. There's a couple new items, though. The build itself is really pretty close to what it was, though, in 2.1.2. So, let's look at the items that kind of make the build a little bit different. So the big one is just the Cloth of Transcendence pants. Summon a Fetish Sycophant when you hit with a mana spender. What this allows us to do is drop Rain of Toads and instead run Poisoned Spirit Haunt. So every time we hit something with Poisoned Spirit, it's going to summon a fetish, and it's also going to allow our pets to deal 20% more damage to the affected enemy. And then the other change is the Focus and Restraint combo. So now this two-piece, all of your damage is increased by up to 150% based on how much primary resource you have. And the thing about Haunt is even with Pierce the Veil, it only costs 50 mana. So you get mana back very quickly. We're also going to be running, Grave Injustice and even Gruesome Feast in this build. So even if our mana does tend to go down a little bit, it goes back up very fast. And as long as you have 15 fetishes out and the majority of the enemies that are being attacked are haunted, that's all you really need, and you can worry about, pressing your other buttons as opposed to just spamming haunt. Because honestly, as long as the enemies that are being attacked are haunted, as soon as those enemies die, the haunt is then going to jump to something else. So as long as you're at max fetishes, you really can just sit there with your mana at 100% if you want to for this combination. And at least at the moment, unless this damage gets nerfed a little bit, this is by far the best ring setup in my opinion. There are a couple other pretty nice ones, and I'm going to make another video with the Little Man's Finger and that setup as well, but this is just such a huge damage buff currently. So let's take a look at the abilities. So again, Haunt, Poison Spirit, and really, when we were running Rain of Toads before, you'd have to rely on a proc coefficient to summon fetishes from the passive Fetish Sycophants, and with the new pants and Haunt, every time you hit an enemy with Haunt, you're going to get a fetish right away. There's no procs to worry about or anything like that. So it's much better against single targets, especially against, say, a Rift boss kills all of your pets. You can get 15 fetishes back out very fast by just spamming Haunt on that Rift Guardian. And then as those fetishes from the Cloth of Transcendence pants attack an enemy, it's going to reduce the cooldown of your Legion of Daggers and your Big Bad Voodoo with the Star Metal Kukri as well. So recovering against a Rift boss is much, much easier now, and it's probably the biggest buff to pets in general at the moment. Hopefully we get a little bit more in this PTR, but for the time being, this is kind of what we're working with. Sacrifice Provoke the Pack, 20% increased damage per stack. We're going to run the Homunculus offhand to generate fetishes to then sacrifice to buff our pets. Really, if you've played this build at all on the live servers, it's not much different. It really plays the same way. Big Bad Voodoo Slam Dance for more damage to our pets, and this is going to be up all the time with Star Metal Kukri. Spirit Walk Jaunt for more movement speed, and also if our Horrified does drop off or we're up against just some really nasty mob types, get us out of a bad situation. Horrify Face of Death, 24-yard radius. The idea is just to keep everything horrified at all times. Now, every once in a while that ends up not working out the way you want it to, but if you can keep everything horrified, it's going to proc your Bane of the Trapped, you're going to stay alive, and your pets are going to stay alive to maximize their damage. Fetish Army Legion of Daggers, 8 dagger-wielding fetishes that are physical damage, and these will be up all the time with Star Metal Kukri. Pierce the Veil for more damage. Gruesome Feast for more damage as well. Now this slot used to be Fetish Sycophants, but since we don't have to run that anymore because of the Cloth of Transcendence pants, I like Gruesome Feast. It'll give you the most damage, which is what we really need. But there's some other options too. You could go Fierce Loyalty for more movement speed. You could go Zombie Handler for more life and another dog to sacrifice, or you could go Jungle Fortitude for the extra pet reduction there if you wanted. Spirit Vessel, again, if Horrify does drop off or the Rift is just really nasty with, winged assassins and things like that, it's nice to have this. And then Grave Injustice for cooldown reduction mostly, but also gives you life and mana on kill. Alright, let's take a look at the gear. So we got the Tiklandian Visage, which really what makes the build work. Horrify causes you to fear and root enemies around you for 8 seconds. That range is anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds. Now ideally you want an 8-second one, but if you have to run a 6 or 7 second, you just need to make sure that you make up for that with CDR on your gear. because really it's very important that you keep all elites and champions horrified in place, because if you let them out for just a split second, they can then cast their abilities and potentially you get one-shotted and you're dead. Now, more than likely, you're going to want one with int, vitality, crit chance, and a socket, but sacrifice damage is also okay. We're going to run natural 3-piece Auguild, so we got the shoulders with fetish army damage, the chest with fetish army damage, and then bracers with physical and crit chance. An amulet with physical, crit chance, crit damage, and a socket is going to be ideal, but intelligence, crit chance, crit damage, socket is also fine. Tasker and Theos, higher the attack speed, the better. Ideally, you want one, that's trifecta, but that's easier said than done. If you have a trifecta pair, then obviously wear those for more crit damage. We've got the Witching Hour, definitely going to be the best belt for this setup currently. The Thought to Transcendence pants, like we already talked about, and then the Focus and Restraint combination. Illusory Boots, again, so we can just move freely through everything. I like the sacrifice damage here for a little bit more AoE clear, but you could also roll a defensive stat there if you really wanted to. And then the Homunculus. Now, the really important part about the Homunculus is that it's a 4-second one, so you get the buffs up more often. But you definitely want it to be ancient and have crit chance. Now, ideally, you'd have one with all of this stuff and fetish army damage, but that is easier said than done. I rolled a ton of Homunculus on the PTR, and this is by far the best one that I found, but I probably rolled 30 or 40 of them, I would say, over the course of the 2000% legendary buff. So this is the best setup, though, if you can get this. And then we got the Star Meadow Kukri. This is a pretty well-rolled one for not being ancient. I think with this one, I can probably go up to about 47-ish greater rifts. Maybe a 48 with, like, really, really crazy easy mob density and, like, Stone Slinger boss. But I think if I had an ancient one, I'm pretty positive that 50 is doable in the current setup on PTR, which isn't terrible, but you've got wizards doing like 55s already with Tau Rashas, and I'm sure that Demon Hunters can go even higher too than they are. I think they've done like 52s maybe so far. So 50 really isn't all that impressive. It may be able to go even a little bit higher than that with a really, really good Star Metal, because honestly, in any build these days, if you don't have an ancient weapon, it's really going to hold your build back by a few rift levels, unfortunately. So hopefully I'll get one eventually and we can test that out with an ancient one, but for the time being, I think 47 is about the cap for now. So as far as legendary gems go, we've got the Pain Enhancer. We're stacking physical damage, so it's going to buff the dot effect, and when you're doing higher, greater rifts, the dots like that are really nice. And also everything that's dotted is going to give you 3% increased attack speed, as long as you're within 20 yards of it, and your pets directly get damage from your attack speed, so it's really nice overall. We've got the Bane of the Trapped gem. You're horrifying everything already, which is going to proc this, as well as haunting everything, and haunt slows, so that will proc it as well. Pretty much 100% uptime on Bane of the Trapped, by far the best gem in this setup. And then we've got the Enforcer gem. Increases your pet's damage, and then your pets take 25% less damage. Really good against Rift Guardians. You are still going to see your pets die against a lot of the Rift Guardians, but they won't die near as quickly, and a lot of times just 2 or 3 at a time will end up dying, and then you can respawn those with the Cloth of Transcendence pants very fast. So there's one other gem that I messed around with a little bit on the PTR, and that's the Teguk gem. The only thing is it's a little bit annoying to try to keep the stacks going. I think it'll be pretty easy because you're casting Haunt pretty often, which is going to stack this. You're spending a primary resource with Haunt, and it shouldn't be too hard to do. The biggest problem was just the lag currently on the PTR. It's hard enough to play right now in general, and trying to worry about these stacks at the same time, I'm just not going to mess with it at the moment. If the lag gets any better, I will revisit this and try it again. I think it could possibly replace the Pain Enhancer gem as far as damage, and also give you a pretty nice defensive buff as well. So we'll try that out some more later. One other thing they changed in this patch in 2.2 is they added an icon for your Horrify. So as you see down here, this actually shows you how long until your Horrify ends. So you can tell exactly your uptime on Horrify on enemies. Really nice quality of life change for this build and for 0 DPS Witch Doctors as well. So I ran a 45 earlier. I know, again, not terribly impressive with what other classes are doing on the PTR, but it went pretty well. We did get Stone Singer at the end, so it's pretty easy for the most part. But I really do think I could do a 47 if I really tried, and as far as the rest of the Rift goes, it wasn't really too bad. I think I died a couple times. Honestly, I don't think it was to lag. It was more just, doing something stupid, unfortunately. But, it is what it is. I'm sure the lag maybe played a little bit of a part in it. It kind of always does on the PTR. But anyways, guys, we'll go ahead and jump into it. So the mic won't be on for the gameplay portion of the video. So as always, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.